Broken Promises. The morning rush at Sweet Crumb's bakery had dwindled to a trickle when Olivia Reed's phone rang. She wiped flour-covered hands on her apron before answering. "Mrs. Reed, this is Westside Children's Hospital calling about Sophia." Olivia's heart stuttered. "Is she all right?" "She's stable, but Dr. Patterson would like to discuss her latest test results." "Can you come in this afternoon?" Hanging up, Olivia pressed her palms against the counter to steady herself. At 8 years old, her daughter Sophia had already endured more hospital visits than most people face in a lifetime. The rare autoimmune disorder that attacked her nervous system had confounded specialists across the city. "You okay, boss?" Teresa, her assistant manager, appeared from the kitchen carrying a tray of cinnamon rolls. "Hospital called. I need to leave early." Teresa nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Go, I'll close up." 90 minutes later, Olivia sat across from Dr. Patterson, struggling to process his words. "There's a treatment protocol showing promise in clinical trials," he explained, sliding a brochure across his desk. "Sophia would be an excellent candidate." Hope flickered briefly before reality crashed down. "What's the cost?" The figure Dr. Patterson quoted made Olivia's stomach drop. Even with insurance, the out-of-pocket expenses would be astronomical. "There's also a foundation that sometimes assists families," Dr. Patterson added gently. "They're hosting a fundraiser tomorrow night at the Grand Plaza Hotel." The next evening found Olivia wildly out of her element, wearing her one decent dress at the edges of a glittering ballroom. Wealthy donors in formal attire mingled effortlessly while she clutched a champagne flute she hadn't sipped, scanning name tags for the foundation director. "Olivia?" The deep voice behind her triggered an avalanche of memories. Turning slowly, she found herself face to face with Daniel Blackwood. 6 years hadn't changed him much. Still impossibly handsome in his tailored tuxedo, with those penetrating gray eyes that had once seen straight into her soul. But success had hardened his features, sharpened his jawline. Daniel. His name felt foreign on her tongue after so long. "I almost didn't recognize you." His gaze swept over her, assessing. "I didn't expect to see you here. I'm one of the foundation's major donors." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "The better question is what brings you here. Last I heard, you were running a small bakery in Riverdale." The casual mention of her business, proof he'd kept tabs on her, sent a chill down her spine. "My daughter is sick," she said simply. "The foundation might help with her treatment." Something flashed across his features. Surprise, then calculation. "You have a daughter?" "Sophia. She's 8. Daniel's expression changed subtly as he did the math. "8, he repeated softly. Before he could ask the question forming behind his eyes, a silver-haired man approached. "Blackwood!" "There you are. The Henderson Group is ready to discuss that Singapore property." Daniel held up a hand. "In a moment, Richard." His attention remained fixed on Olivia. "We should talk, properly, about your daughter's treatment and other matters." "I don't think that's a good idea." "I insist." He produced a business card. "My office, 10 tomorrow morning." As Olivia took the card, their fingers brushed. The familiar electricity she'd tried so hard to forget jolted through her veins. "For Sophia," Daniel added quietly. The name of her daughter in his mouth felt like an invasion. But what choice did she have? Sophia's life hung in the balance, and the man who had shattered her heart 6 years ago might be her only hope. The proposal Blackwood Tower dominated the city skyline, a gleaming monument to Daniel's success. As Olivia rode the elevator to the penthouse office, she rehearsed what to say, how to maintain her dignity while essentially begging for help. The receptionist ushered her directly to Daniel's office, a vast space of glass and steel with panoramic views. Daniel stood by the window, hands in pockets, silhouetted against the cityscape he seemed to own. "Olivia, thank you for coming." He turned, gesturing to a sitting area. "Coffee?" "I'm not here for pleasantries, Daniel." He nodded, respecting her directness. "Tell me about Sophia." For the next 10 minutes, Olivia described Sophia's condition, the progressive deterioration of her nervous system, the promising experimental treatment, and the staggering costs. Daniel listened intently, occasionally asking pointed medical questions that surprised her. $200,000, he finally said. That's what you need for the treatment and associated expenses. The foundation said they might cover 20%. Forget the foundation. Daniel rose, circling behind his desk to retrieve a folder. I have a different proposal. He slid a document across the coffee table. Olivia skimmed the first page, confusion growing. A business acquisition? I don't understand. It's quite straightforward. Blackwood Hospitality Group acquires Sweet Crumbs Bakery. You become our executive pastry chef, developing signature items for all 17 of our hotel restaurants. We expand your original location into our flagship artisanal bakery. Olivia stared at him. You want to buy my bakery? The business I built from nothing after you left? I want to invest in your talent. The bakery barely breaks even. Don't look surprised, I had it assessed. With proper backing, your creations could be featured across the country. And Sophia's treatment? Fully covered, as you're dependent on the corporate health plan, plus a signing bonus that would handle any additional expenses. He leaned forward. You'd have the best care for Sophia, financial security, and career advancement. What's the catch, Daniel? Olivia set the folder down. You disappeared from my life without a word 6 years ago. Now you're offering everything I need wrapped in a perfect package? Something flickered behind his eyes. Regret? Guilt? The catch is you'd work directly with me, regularly. The hotel restaurant rebranding is my personal project. Understanding dawned. So I'd be tying my life to yours again. Professionally, yes. Olivia laughed bitterly. Why? There must be dozens of talented bakers you could hire. Daniel's gaze intensified. None with your particular perspective. What does that mean? Instead of answering, he slid another document forward. Sophia's medical files. I had my team research her condition thoroughly. This treatment has a 78% success rate for cases like hers. Olivia's hands trembled as she opened the file. Inside was more information than she'd ever been able to access. Research papers, specialist opinions, treatment centers. How did you get this? I have resources. And motivation. What motivation? Daniel stood abruptly. Is Sophia mine, Olivia? The question hung between them, sharp as broken glass. No, Olivia said firmly. She's not yours, Daniel. Relief and something like disappointment crossed his features. Then consider my offer purely business. You get what Sophia needs. I get your expertise for my hotels. And if I refuse, then I wish you luck with the foundation. His tone softened. But this offer would guarantee Sophia gets treatment immediately, not after months of applications and partial funding. Olivia stood, gathering her purse. I need time to think. Of course. Daniel handed her a card. My personal number. The offer stands until Friday. At the door, Olivia paused. You still haven't told me why you left. Daniel's expression closed. That's not relevant to our current arrangement. It is to me. Accept my offer, and perhaps one day I'll tell you. Olivia stepped into the elevator, the weight of his proposition pressing on her chest. For Sophia, she would consider working with the man who broke her heart. For Sophia, she might even forgive him, but she would never forget the morning she woke to find him gone, taking her trust with him. Rekindled embers. The contract sat signed on Daniel's desk, its terms binding Olivia's fate to his once again. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Sweet Crumbs Bakery was undergoing renovation, Sophia had started treatment, and Olivia found herself working side by side with Daniel in the test kitchen of his downtown hotel. The cardamom is too strong, Daniel commented, sampling her latest creation. Olivia bit back a retort. Though he had an irritatingly refined palate, his feedback was usually right. I'll adjust the ratio. The texture is perfect, though. He made a note on his tablet. This could be our signature breakfast pastry across all locations. Working together had fallen into an unexpected rhythm. Daniel was demanding but fair, his business acumen complementing her culinary creativity. The tension between them remained, an undercurrent beneath their professional interactions. Sophia's doctor called, Olivia mentioned, measuring ingredients for her next test batch. The preliminary response to treatment is positive. Daniel's expression softened, a transformation she was still getting used to. When discussing Sophia, his customary sharpness gave way to genuine concern. That's excellent news. They're cautiously optimistic. Olivia hesitated. She asked about you. Me? She wants to meet the man who's fixing the bakery. Her words. Daniel set down his tablet, clearly caught off guard. I'm not sure that's appropriate. Neither am I, Olivia admitted. But she's curious. She doesn't have many constant figures in her life. The implications hung heavily between them. Later that evening, they were reviewing marketing materials in Daniel's office when his assistant interrupted. Mr. Blackwood, your brother's online won. He says it's urgent. Daniel's face darkened. Take a message. He insisted. I said, take a message, Caroline. After the assistant left, Olivia watched Daniel closely. I didn't know you had a brother. There's a lot you don't know about me, because you never let me in, Daniel. Even when we were together. He stood abruptly, moving to the window, his habitual retreat when conversations turned personal. My family is complicated, isn't everyone's? Not like mine. He turned, eyes haunted. My father built his empire on other people's misfortunes. My brother follows his example. I've spent years trying to separate myself from their methods. Is that why you left? Something to do with your family? The question hung between them until Daniel finally nodded. My father threatened to ruin you, your mother, your fledgling business. He didn't approve of you, or rather your lack of social standing and connections. Olivia absorbed this, anger and hurt rising anew. So you just disappeared? Without explaining? Without giving me a choice? I was trying to protect you. Bitterness edged his voice. My father would have systematically destroyed everything you cared about. I'd seen him do it before. You should have told me. Would it have changed anything? Would you have been able to fight William Blackwood and his army of lawyers and fixers? Before she could answer, his phone rang again. With a muttered curse, Daniel answered. The one-sided conversation was terse, his expression growing increasingly grim. After hanging up, he stared at the phone. My father is dying. I'm sorry, Olivia said automatically. Don't be. But it means Thomas, my brother, will take control of Blackwood Industries. His gaze met hers, suddenly intense. Which means trouble for us. What kind of trouble? The contract we signed gives you significant control over the bakery expansion. If Thomas realizes I've tied company resources to an independent operation he can't control, understanding dawned. He'll try to break the contract, Daniel nodded grimly. And unlike me, he won't care who gets hurt in the process. As they stood there, the space between them seemed to shrink, years of separation dissolving in shared concern. Daniel stepped closer, his hand lifting to brush a strand of hair from her face. I never stopped thinking about you, Olivia. The confession hung between them, unexpected and raw. Before she could respond, his lips met hers, tentative at first, then with increasing certainty as she responded. The familiar chemistry blazed between them, 6 years of absence falling away in an instant. When they finally separated, breathless, Olivia stepped back. This complicates things. Things were already complicated. Daniel's phone buzzed with a text. Reading it, his expression hardened. Thomas is moving faster than I expected. He's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. What does that mean for us? For Sophia's treatment? It means we need to protect what matters most. He squeezed her hand. And this time, I'm not leaving. Hidden truths. The boardroom of Blackwood Industries embodied cold opulence, all marble, leather, and intimidation. Olivia sat beside Daniel, acutely aware she didn't belong in this world of power suits and predatory smiles. Across the table, Thomas Blackwood watched them with barely concealed contempt. The resemblance between the brothers was striking, both tall and commanding, with the same steel-gray eyes. But where Daniel carried his authority with quiet confidence, Thomas wielded his like a weapon. Let's address the elephant in the room, Thomas began once the preliminaries concluded. My brother has allocated significant company resources to a bakery expansion with no demonstrable ROI. He slid folders to each board member. The projected losses are concerning. Those projections are deliberately misleading, Daniel countered smoothly. The Sweet Crumbs expansion is already trending ahead of revenue forecasts. For the next hour, Olivia watched Daniel systematically dismantle his brother's arguments with spreadsheets and market analyses she hadn't known existed. He'd clearly been preparing for this confrontation. "There's another matter," Thomas said finally, his smile turning predatory. "The unusual healthcare provisions in Ms. Reed's contract." He focused on Olivia. "Specifically, the complete coverage for experimental treatments not typically included in our corporate plan." Olivia's stomach knotted. "My daughter's treatment was part of the negotiation. A negotiation that appears personally motivated." Thomas produced another document. "The board should know that my brother and Ms. Reed have a history." "That's irrelevant," Daniel snapped. "Is it? You've authorized over $200,000 in medical expenses for her daughter." Thomas leaned forward. "A daughter born approximately 9 months after your association with Ms. Reed ended." The implication hung heavily in the air. Board members exchanged glances. Daniel's voice was deadly quiet. "Careful, Thomas. The timing raises questions about potential conflicts of interest, about whether company funds are being used for personal obligations. Sophia is not Daniel's daughter," Olivia stated firmly, anger overriding intimidation, "and I can prove it medically if necessary. Yet my brother seems extraordinarily invested in her welfare." "Because he's a decent human being," Olivia shot back. "Something evidently not inherited by all Blackwood sons." Thomas's eyes narrowed. "Ms. Reed, this board decides the fate of your contract and, by extension, your daughter's treatment. I'd advise caution." Before Olivia could respond, Daniel placed a restraining hand on her arm. "The meeting is adjourned. We'll reconvene after everyone has reviewed the complete financials." As the board members filed out, Thomas lingered. "This isn't over, Daniel." "For once, we agree." Daniel's voice was ice. "Father trained you well in his tactics, but you forget who watched and learned alongside you." Alone in Daniel's office afterward, Olivia paced furiously. "He's trying to use Sophia as leverage." "Yes." Daniel loosened his tie, exhaustion evident. "It's what our father would have done. He can't really cancel her treatment, can he?" "Not immediately. But if the board votes with him." Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "We need something compelling to counter him." Olivia studied him. "You knew this would happen. You've been preparing." "I knew Thomas would make a move after Father died. I didn't expect him to drag Sophia into it." He met her gaze. "I'm sorry. Why does he hate you so much?" Daniel's laugh held no humor. "Because Father changed his will 2 years ago. He left Thomas the company, but me the controlling interest." He crossed to a cabinet, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. "Our father pitted us against each other our entire lives. His final act ensured we'd keep fighting after he was gone." Olivia accepted the drink, needing its warmth. "What's our next move?" "I've been quietly meeting with key clients. If necessary, I can make it clear that my departure would jeopardize those relationships." "Corporate blackmail?" "Strategy," Daniel corrected. "Thomas understands nothing but power." Olivia set down her glass. "There's something you're not telling me." Daniel hesitated, then crossed to his desk, retrieving a file from a locked drawer. "Before I show you this, understand that I only discovered it myself 3 months ago." The file contained medical records. Olivia recognized her mother's name with shock. "What is this?" "Evidence that Blackwood Industries knowingly exposed workers, including your mother, to toxic chemicals at their textile plant 15 years ago." Olivia's hand flew to her mouth. "Mom died of cancer 5 years ago." "I know." Daniel's eyes held genuine regret. "The company paid settlements to some families, but buried others' claims with legal maneuvers. Your mother's case was among those buried. The realization hit like physical pain. That's why you sought me out at the fundraiser. Why you investigated Sophia's condition." "Partly," he admitted. "When I saw your name on the guest list, I knew I had to help. Then I learned about Sophia's autoimmune disorder, which could be linked to genetic damage from my mother's exposure," Olivia finished, connecting the horrible dots. "My God, Daniel. Your family's company may have caused my daughter's illness. I've been trying to make it right without revealing the company's culpability." Self-disgust colored his voice. "I'm a coward. I should have told you immediately. Were you ever going to tell me?" Anger and betrayal surged through her. "Or was this just about easing your conscience?" "It started that way," Daniel admitted quietly. But working with you again, meeting Sophia, it became about much more. Before Olivia could respond, Daniel's assistant burst in. Mr. Blackwood, there's an emergency call from Westside Children's Hospital for Ms. Reed. Olivia's world narrowed to those words, all other concerns instantly secondary. Sophia. Healing hearts. The hospital corridor seemed endless as Olivia ran toward Sophia's room, Daniel close behind. Dr. Patterson met them outside, his expression grave but not devastating. She had a severe reaction to the treatment, he explained. It triggered a cascade immune response, but we've stabilized her. Can I see her? Olivia's voice shook, briefly. She's resting. Sophia looked tiny in the hospital bed, surrounded by monitors. Her pale face brightened seeing Olivia, then registered surprise at Daniel's presence behind her. You must be the bakery man, she said weakly. Daniel approached cautiously. I am, though I think your mom's baking is much better than my business skills. Sophia studied him with the forthright curiosity of children. Are you Mom's boyfriend? Sophia! Olivia flushed. It's a fair question, Daniel replied seriously. I'm an old friend who's trying to be helpful. Sophia nodded, accepting this. The doctors say my body's fighting the medicine. You've always been a fighter. Olivia smoothed her daughter's hair. Just like Grandma. Later, in the consultation room, Dr. Patterson explained the complication. We need to modify the treatment protocol. There's a specialist in Boston developing an approach for patients with similar adverse reactions. Whatever she needs, Daniel said before Olivia could worry about costs. After the doctor left, they sat in silence until Olivia finally spoke. I should hate you for what your family did. I wouldn't blame you. But Sophia needs this treatment. And the truth is, you're the only reason she has a chance. She met his gaze directly. What happens when Thomas exposes the company's liability? I've prepared for that too. Daniel handed her another folder. This trust is in Sophia's name. It's funded personally by me, not the company. Regardless of what happens with Thomas or Blackwood Industries, Sophia's care is secured. Olivia stared at the document, overwhelmed. Why would you do this? Because I never stopped caring about you, he said simply. And because making amends doesn't erase guilt, but it's the only way forward I can live with. What about Thomas? The board? I'm prepared to resign my position and liquidate my shares if necessary. The controlling interest gives me leverage, but it's just money, Olivia. Some things matter more. The Daniel she'd known 6 years ago would never have said those words. The transformation moved something deep within her. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. 3 months later, Sophia sat in a special booth at the grand opening of the expanded Sweet Crumbs bakery. Her health had stabilized on the modified treatment, color returning to her cheeks. The prognosis, while guarded, was more optimistic than anyone had dared hope. The settlement with Blackwood Industries had become public, not just for Olivia's mother, but for dozens of affected families. Thomas had been forced to step down amid the scandal, the board appointing an outside CEO to manage the transition and damage control. Daniel approached their table, bringing Sophia's favorite chocolate eclair. Special delivery for our guest of honor. Did you make it? Sophia asked skeptically. Absolutely not. Your mom would never let me near the ovens. He smiled at Olivia, who was supervising the bustling counter nearby. The new bakery had become an overnight sensation, its story of corporate accountability and personal redemption capturing public imagination. The truth had cost Daniel his family legacy, but had given him something more valuable. As the celebration continued around them, Daniel and Olivia found a quiet moment in her office. The Boston specialist called, she told him. The latest tests show significant improvement. She's cautiously using the word remission. Daniel's relief was palpable. That's wonderful news. I've been thinking, Olivia said carefully, about what happens next. For us. Is there an us, Olivia? The vulnerability in his question stripped away years of corporate armor. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I'm open to finding out. Slowly, he nodded, accepting her terms. I can work with slowly. You broke my heart once, she reminded him, and your family's company caused immeasurable harm. I know. I can't undo either. No, she agreed. But you chose a different path when it mattered most. For Sophia, for those families. She took his hand cautiously. Maybe that's where we start. Outside, the autumn sun bathed the bakery in golden light. Through the window, they could see Sophia laughing with Teresa, her face animated as she described something with expansive gestures. She has your determination, Daniel observed, and her grandmother's fighting spirit. Olivia squeezed his hand. We're still writing our story, Daniel. All of us. The man who had once broken her soul nodded, understanding the fragile promise in her words. In protecting her family, Olivia had found not just financial security or medical treatment, but the possibility of healing wounds she'd thought would pain her forever. And Daniel, in choosing truth over empire, had found something his family's fortune could never buy: redemption and the chance to become the man he'd always wanted to be. As they rejoined the celebration, the future stretched before them, uncertain but hopeful, complex but worth fighting for. Just like family, just like love,